What if the women you quietly assume are lonely are actually standing at the edge of a deeper consciousness, one that most people never reach? In a world obsessed with popularity, constant connection, and social validation, women with few or no friends are often misunderstood, labeled as withdrawn, cold, or broken. But Carl Jung saw something radically different. He believed that isolation is not always a wound. It can be a doorway, a psychological and spiritual threshold where the soul turns inward, confronts itself, and awakens. If you've ever wondered why some women naturally pull away from social circles, why they feel overwhelmed by shallow connections, or why solitude feels more truthful than belonging, this video will change the way you see loneliness forever, and perhaps the way you see yourself. From a Jungian perspective, a woman with few or no friends is not automatically experiencing a psychological deficiency, nor is she necessarily wounded, antisocial, or incapable of connection. Carl Jung consistently warned against confusing outer behavior with inner truth. What appears as isolation on the surface may, in reality, be a profound inner orientation toward depth rather than breadth. Jung believed that modern society rewards extroversion, surface harmony, and constant interaction, while quietly punishing those whose psyche is oriented inward. Women who naturally detach from large social circles often do so not out of fear or rejection, but because their inner world demands more authenticity, meaning, and psychological honesty than most social environments can offer. For such women, shallow conversations feel draining, performative friendships feel false, and social expectations feel like masks that suffocate the soul. Jung spoke extensively about individuation, the lifelong process of becoming one's true self by integrating the conscious and unconscious aspects of the psyche. This process is inherently solitary. It requires silence, reflection, and separation from collective norms. Women who find themselves with few friends are often, consciously or unconsciously, engaged in this individuation process. They are no longer satisfied with relationships that exist merely to fill time, soothe anxiety, or confirm social identity. Instead, they seek connections that resonate with their inner truth. Until such connections appear, they may choose solitude over compromise. Jung would argue that this is not avoidance, but discernment. In many cases, these women possess heightened sensitivity. Jung described certain individuals as having a thin psychological boundary between the conscious mind and the unconscious. This makes them more intuitive, emotionally perceptive, and spiritually receptive, but also more easily overwhelmed. Large social groups, gossip-based friendships, or emotionally chaotic environments can feel invasive to such a psyche. What others call being social may feel like psychic noise to them. As a result, withdrawal becomes a form of self-regulation, not pathology. Solitude protects their inner equilibrium and allows them to process experiences at a depth that society rarely acknowledges. Another crucial Jungian concept is the shadow, the unconscious part of the personality that contains traits society deems unacceptable. Many women with few friends have already encountered their shadow early in life. They have faced uncomfortable truths about themselves, others, and human nature. This confrontation often strips away naive illusions about relationships. Once you see how often friendships are built on envy, competition, projection, or unconscious manipulation, it becomes difficult to participate without inner conflict. Jung noted that those who become conscious pay a price. They no longer fully belong to the collective. These women may feel alienated, not because they are broken, but because they see too clearly. There is also the matter of projection. Jung explained that people often form friendships not based on who someone truly is, but on what they unconsciously project onto them. Women with strong individuality tend to disrupt projections. They do not easily mirror expectations, flatter egos, or conform to roles. This makes them less socially convenient. Others may feel uncomfortable around them without knowing why. As a result, these women may find themselves excluded, misunderstood, or quietly pushed to the margins. Over time, many stop trying to fit into spaces that require self-betrayal. Spiritually, Jung believed that solitude is a sacred condition. In many mythological and religious traditions, transformation occurs in isolation. The desert, the cave, the wilderness. Women with few or no friends often experience a similar inner exile. This is not accidental. Their psyche is oriented toward inner dialogue rather than external distraction. They are more likely to ask existential questions. Who am I beyond roles? What is the meaning of love? Why do I feel different? Such questions rarely find answers in casual friendships. They require silence, introspection, and often, loneliness. Importantly, Jung distinguished between isolation and loneliness. Isolation can be chosen and nourishing. Loneliness is often imposed and painful. Many women move through both states. Early on, the lack of friends may hurt deeply, especially in a culture that equates worth with social visibility. But over time, something shifts. Solitude becomes spacious rather than empty. The woman begins to develop a rich inner life through creativity, spirituality, reading, contemplation, or meaningful work. Jung believed that when outer relationships diminish, the psyche compensates by strengthening the inner relationship with the self, the central organizing principle of the psyche. These women often form fewer relationships, but those relationships are intense, transformative, and deeply bonded. Jung would say that quantity belongs to the ego, quality belongs to the self. A woman who has one or two profound connections may be psychologically richer than someone surrounded by dozens of shallow ones. However, society rarely validates this. As a result, such women may struggle with self-doubt, wondering if something is wrong with them. Jung would encourage them to trust the direction of their psyche rather than the noise of social comparison. There is also a developmental aspect. Many women with few friends have outgrown certain psychological stages earlier than their peers. They may no longer resonate with drama, competition, or external validation. This creates a temporary gap. Jung emphasized that psychological growth often involves periods of disconnection before reconnection at a higher level. The woman may feel alone not because she is destined to be isolated, but because she is between worlds, no longer fitting where she was and not yet having found where she belongs. From a spiritual standpoint, Jung believed that the soul speaks most clearly in silence. When a woman has few external voices around her, she is more likely to hear her own. This can awaken intuition, creativity, and moral clarity. Many such women feel drawn to psychology, art, philosophy, or spirituality, not as hobbies, but as necessities. These pursuits help them translate their inner experiences into meaning. Jung would see this as the psyche guiding the individual toward wholeness. However, this path is not without pain. Being different carries grief. There is grief in watching others bond effortlessly while you remain on the outside. There is grief in wanting connection but refusing to settle for what feels false. Jung never romanticized solitude. He acknowledged its weight, but he also believed that meaning is born from tension. The tension between belonging and authenticity is precisely where the soul matures. Ultimately, the spiritual meaning of women with few or no friends is not about rejection. It is about orientation. Their energy moves inward before it moves outward. Their psyche values depth over noise, truth over comfort, and authenticity over acceptance. Jung would not urge them to force themselves into social molds. Instead, he would invite them to ask a deeper question. What is my solitude trying to teach me? Because in Jungian psychology, symptoms are messages, and isolation is often the soul asking to be listened to. When these women finally do connect with people who see them rather than project onto them, the bond is often extraordinary. But even if such connections are rare, Jung would say the woman is not incomplete. She is engaged in one of the most demanding tasks a human being can undertake, becoming herself. If you see yourself in this journey, remember this. Having few or no friends does not mean you're lacking. It may mean you're listening to a deeper call. As Carl Jung taught, the path to the self is not crowded. It is quiet, honest, and often misunderstood. Trust what your inner world is shaping within you, and don't rush to belong where your soul cannot breathe. If this perspective resonated with you and you want more deep psychological and spiritual insights inspired by Jung, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and stay with us on this journey of awareness and self-discovery.